Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Custard and I welcome you to another Minecraft build. This project was huge. Not only did I build one of the biggest apocalyptic mansions in Minecraft, but I created many monuments around it, including a giant human skull and a rotunda that almost reaches Minecraft's max build limit. All of this situated on 2 volcanic islands in the middle of a vast ocean of lava. Before we begin today's build, let me take you back to where it all started. In the middle of the ocean, there are 2 islands. On the south side, mountains reach enormous heights, pine forests cover a large amount of the landscape, and an ancient stone ruin remains untouched in the center. On the north side, birch and oak trees surround the plains, wildlife thrives here, and rugged coastlines surround both of the islands. Centuries later, due to climate change and the increasing expansion of the sun, this landscape has dramatically changed into nothing more than a barren wasteland deprived of any life that once lived here. Oceans have evaporated and supervolcanoes have erupted, flooding the canyons where the oceans once were. I thought the best way to start this project would be to create a monument where the ancient stone ruins still stand, and this location would also act as the spawn point to the world. Since life on this land no longer existed, I think it made perfect sense to create a giant human skull shedding a tear between the volcanic valleys. I started this skull by creating a sphere with world edit, and I gradually extruded, carved and cut into it. I changed the shape of this skull so many times and relied on a lot of reference images, but after about 5 hours, I had eventually created the perfect skull. I decided to leave the grounds in front of the skull untouched, as I thought it would make for the perfect pathway leading to the North Island. My plans for the North Island were extremely ambitious. I was about to cover 40% of this island with a mega lava fantasy themed mansion. But first, I needed a way to get to the island from the spawn point. I began constructing a framework for a drawbridge and experimented with a few different pattern options for the side of the bridge, and I finally concluded on a style I like. I also added in some lava pumps which go to the river. Technically this could make the bridge work, so I thought that was cool, but my favourite part about this bridge was the cobble floor. Of course, inspired by the cobblestone block. After creating the 2 front tower gates, I had a clear vision of what the rest of the build would look like. Before I began working on the mansion, I created a fence with multiple variations of it. I would use these fences to guard the front half of the mansion. After that, I laid out a rough plan for where the structure would sit, and as you can see, this mansion was going to be massive. Although, luckily as you'll see as the build progresses, a lot of the windows and walls were identical, so there was a lot of world edit, copying, rotating, flipping and pasting sections of the build. Despite having the world edit mod to make things easier, this section of the build took around 30 hours to complete, due to the detailing. It was a very repetitive process. Also, I didn't want to make this mansion identical on both sides. So I made this side industrial with 6 chimneys because I figured an isolated apocalyptic mansion would need a power source of some kind. I was now over about 22 hours into this build and slightly regretting the size I'd made this, but being this far into the project, I was not going to turn back now. The foundations were set in place and I was determined to finish this, so I carried on building the second half of the mansion, which thankfully didn't take too long because a lot of it could be copied, flipped and pasted. After all that, I pasted in the fences from earlier to guard off this side section of the mansion. Finally, I created a cracked styled pattern rooftop, and that was the mansion complete. Although, I wasn't going to stop here. Before you ask, I did consider building the interior of this mansion, but that would have taken even longer than it took to build the exterior, and at this stage, I really wanted to continue on with the other elements of this project. But if that is something you want to see, let me know and I could do another video just creating the interior of this mansion. Anyways, now the main part of the build was complete, it was time to continue on with the other monuments. First, I wanted to construct a huge rotunda on this flat section of terrain, and have these lava pipes pouring into some lava pools surrounded by a pathway leading to the rotunda. Surprisingly, the rotunda didn't take too long to build because I only needed 1/4 of it. Then I could copy, rotate and paste, which saved heaps of time. I wanted to keep the design quite simple. As you can see, the floor is nothing incredible, and for the most part, it's just a pillared cylinder with some detail around the roof and some arches. After putting the roof on with World Edit and creating some fancy spiral patterns on all 4 sides, this rotunda was 3 blocks away from Minecraft's max build limit of 256 blocks. Bear in mind, the lava that surrounds these islands is on bedrock level, so it was pretty tall. Now I created a pathway that would lead to the rotunda, and I added some lamps to light the way. The pathway also acted as a wall for the pool of lava. On the back side of the mansion, the pathway led to a huge staircase that sloped down on either side. With this symmetrical design, it meant something needed to be built on the other side. I did consider having another building, but I decided to build a Ferris wheel, because honestly, what mansion wouldn't be complete without a Ferris wheel? Although, I did design the carriages more like prison cells, which I thought could be an interesting use of a Ferris wheel. There was only one more monument to add. Heavily inspired by the Temple of Poseidon, I constructed some pillars holding up pools of lava, which could symbolize a lot of things with the fancy magma stained glass pattern on the floor, but I'll leave that up to your own imagination. The only thing left to do now was add some final detailing. I added in some chains to the drawbridge, which I forgot to add earlier, added some lava pipes to the roof, and built 2 gates on the front side of the mansion, and mixed up the stone foundations with some different blocks to create some texture. After 5 hours of terraforming in World Painter and 90 hours of building, I present to you the Lava Mansion. And here are some final rendered images of the project. That is another massive project complete. The download link for this will be available eventually, but not just yet. You'll have to wait a bit. Let me know what I should build next. Maybe I could go back in time and build something on the islands that this apocalyptic world once was. Anyways, if you did enjoy today's video, give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss another project like this one. This has been Charlie Custard, building in Minecraft, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.